What's up, everybody? We just randomly did this, Joe and I. Joe's working from home today, hence the cool wallpaper background. I need you to show me where to find that, by the way. And we were just talking about some deals earlier in the year. We had a month in February where we're closing up to 7 million in volume, and everything fell out. We're just kind of talking about this stuff and just how interesting it was. So we figured we're laughing a bunch. So just want to share some thoughts. And if you get a chance to listen to this, these are real stories that we've seen, and just things perhaps not to do or be aware of if you're a home buyer, a client looking to refinance, someone buying a multi-unit property, someone who's receiving a gift from a family member, a couple other things that we'll go into. But what's up, Joe? How are you, man?
I am well, man. Thanks for acknowledging my cool background.
Yeah.
Got it from the wallpaper store. I also have another one where it's a leather bound chair, and then behind me I got the nice little fireplace going on.
Really?
Yeah, it's nice, man. I look like a well-read gentleman when I sit with that one. That one's for like that's for like personal zooms, you know what I mean? I use that for other stuff. But
Yeah, dude, like fireside chats with Joe Nusko, dude.
yeah, just but I'm good, man. Can't complain.
Good, dude. That's so funny. Yeah, it's funny. I actually am friends with Frank Ray and Brian Stevens. They used to have a thing called the National Real Estate Post and then Mortgage News Daily. They split and one of them went back to origination, but on there they did something similar where it was always a different background and actually got to hang out in their studio one time. It was actually a big green screen back then because they didn't have the technology where you could switch it out, but they would be at like a bar. They'd be like at Marin Headlands in San Rafael or pardon, not San Rafael. It's in I guess it'd be in Sausalito. It's up on the hill above the Golden Gate Bridge. Um, and so I should know that too because I'm from Marin. But anyway, yeah, man, just want to talk about these deals, bro.
Oh
We're
man.
talking on speaker. I had you on speakerphone because I'm scared of Bluetooth. So he's like, "You sound different." So
It's like, wait a minute. Once you get off Bluetooth, you sound clear instantly.
yeah, it's like we're hanging out in person, dude.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah, just like in Disneyland, man. We were going through some stuff, and I was like, "Oh man, remember this deal?" So I figured just to share these things. We're talking about the one transaction again in February. A lot of these hit, but we had, and it started really from talking about a client. And Joe, can you tell the story about H&R Block with that client yesterday?
Yeah. So, and don't get me wrong, great client and everything, but so
Yeah.
every once in a while, clients include you on calls or call you at times when necessarily they're not in a position to talk or you don't necessarily need to be contacted at that time. So I had someone who was working on getting some documentation from their local, where they filed their taxes, H&R Block, and they call me while they're in the middle of working with their tax preparer and thought they had everything ready to go. And then I just hear in the background like, well, I haven't sent them anything yet. So they're still going through all the documentation. I'm just kind of sitting there while they're talking. And then I'm just kind of sitting there like, what do I do right now? Like
Yeah.
they're just going back and forth. And then I guess there must have been some issues with how they did his taxes. He wasn't too happy about that. So he's
Yeah.
kind of going in on them a little bit. And it just kind of got a little uncomfortable. I'm just kind of sitting there like, do I hang up? Like, and I said, I'm like, hey, like I'm still here. And then nobody responded to me. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll just hang out, I guess.
Yeah.
Eventually got to a point where I guess they must have messed something up. And he's like, well, I'm gonna go get some food. You guys figure this out. And then picks up the phone and is like, hey, I'm still here. And I'm like, oh, could have fooled me, man. I thought you forgot about me. But
Did
and
he
then that's
take
happened before.
did he take
Where
you when he got some food?
no, of course he left me there. I was like, hey, man, you're just gonna leave out all the good parts, man. Like, can't
So
just send me anything.
well, he went to get some food. He hung out on hold with the H&R Block, so you heard them typing away. So
Yeah,
he did.
yeah. I was like, this guy, right?
Wow. So clients, if you're listening, we do need documentation in this case, full documentation. But when you have to call H&R Block, sometimes it's easier just to make the handoff, right? So if you were to hand Joe's contact off, or perhaps share my information or the CPA or accountant's information, it would be incredibly helpful to just let us speak to them directly. And then we could guide
Yeah.
them because then that way you're playing operator, right? Our kids, Joe has kids, I have kids, we'll play operator. The message is always different when it goes back around the circle, right? So that way it takes out, there's that communication model that From had, I remember in my undergraduate studies. It's like as you have this message, you have a sender and a receiver, but there's these things that could cause static or things to make things a little bit more difficult. So on that note, it's easier. And we actually had one recently where one of our best agents we work with was applying for a second mortgage or home equity line of credit. And we're working with that. And we did a CPA letter, and his CPA let his enrollment or his license expire. It still files his taxes as a tax preparer. So we needed someone because underwriting is pretty particular. They want to make sure who's actually, signing off on this stuff. Again, it's,
Yeah.
no longer pre 2008. They verify everything, especially in a slower market. We had to, find a solid CPA, reach out to my own to assist, but also having that information can help when we actually speak directly with that CPA, right? So it just makes
Yeah.
things that much easier. That note, it brings me to another thing is where we had a client in February. Do you remember this one, man? Where a client, he was a wage earner, W-2. We got him into escrow. He sent us pay stubs from a hospital in the area as he's a farm tech. I'm not gonna name the hospital, not gonna name the client. Just, we're protecting our clients here.
If that was even their true name, if that
Right.
wasn't the,
Well, that's the thing. He gave us the pay stubs in there of 2003 when we didn't get 2004, and it was like January, right? February in there. So assuming you'd have a December pay stub, and he sent the stuff from 2003, and he sent it through his agent, which we prefer not to have happen. Agents, just so you know, we like to make sure you stay in your lane, we stay in ours, so we can deal head on with our clients and your clients, just to protect you too, and just to make sure that you can do all the work you do. Because as our agents that we work with, you guys are working a ton, and we want to support you, right? That's why we're here, B2B for the sake of the client. So anyhow, we get this client going, and he sends his pay stub saying he'll get it to us, he'll get it to us. And then we run a verification employment, finding out he got fired. And then he kind of blamed everything under the moon as to why he got fired. And we won't get into that necessarily. But then we say, okay, well, you're in escrow. We have to get a pay stub. He's like, are you working now? He's like, yeah, I'm working now. And then he reaches out and sends us a pay stub. But you could tell he just literally, he used a Adobe editor, maybe Foxit PDF. Maybe he just cut and paste. I don't know. But the numbers were exact on the pay stubs. Just the dates and the name of the company was changed. And Joe, what did you catch on that? It was
so
interesting. This I cut.
even the address for the employers were the
Really?
same.
And something
So
else was huge. And I know this is a business owner having an LLC. What else was the exact same?
wait, what else was the exact same? Now I don't remember. This one I
The
kind of blocked from my brain.
good thing. You're like, good riddance, Lord, take this from me. No, it was in the EIN, the employer
That's right, it
identification
was the
number.
EIN. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, that's the same EIN. Like
Yeah,
this
and
is
you caught
this
that. And you're
that's
like, do we
a
send this into underwriting? I'm like, no, we should cancel the transaction. And yeah, it was like
I
I
forgot
had to
about
tell him,
that.
like, dude, the EIN, can we get it? We tried to get a conference call with the person who owned the LLC. And then I explained it all to her. And then we waited a day or two. No one would call us back. And then he just told the agent, we're canceling the
Canceling
transaction.
escrow. Imagine that. And then told the agent that we were being too what was it? Like digging into it too much or asking too many questions.
Yeah.
Kind
And
of like
so
kind of like filed the complaint against us.
yeah, which is interesting because when you think about it, we in underwriting, people, just to be super clear, when we do a transaction, something we like to do is actually do the due diligence. It's not that we like to do it, but if a file gets audited, and Joe and I will close upwards towards 100 some odd transactions a year. When we do a transaction, any one of those files could be audited. So
Mhm.
everything needs to be squeaky clean. And this is post Dodd-Frank, which is the Great Recession, which came through with the Obama administration to essentially give us underwriting guidelines that we would follow that were true because of all the fraud, all the things that took place prior to that. And that was, of course, in the 2000s due to Graham Leach Bliley, which deregulated the banking department where anybody, I mean, we heard of cases in Richmond where people were doing straw buyers, which is essentially buying a property for another individual, or they were buying somebody in deceased people's names. They were using other appraisals for other properties because they were turning money so quick. They weren't seeing the over appreciation. And as everything fell apart, we saw that Great Recession, which really hurt the economy. So now with, the regulars that we have in Dodd-Frank, which came out, and then TRID in 2015, we do everything we can to protect the client, make sure we qualify the client that they're willing, able, and ready. But not only that, but we have to protect the underwriting guidelines and make sure that we do it. So, long story short, people don't like me saying this, but I've already said it. We'll find 9 ways to turn down a file so we can find the one way to approve it. And it's almost like deductive reasoning, right? So we look at everything and we try to do it head on. Joe, you're so good after at this, by the way. Um, a lot of people don't think so. I'm kidding. But I'm gonna bring up the next client who thought he was making all sorts of money. Same
Well,
time. And he was self-employed contractor. and he had like a G-Wagon, which is an expensive Mercedes SUV, and like a really nice work truck, which was a GMC Sierra, and Denali edition, and it was just like, I mean, you could see because of the liabilities, which is on the credit report, and he was saying that he earned X number of dollars. However, Joe, what did we find out on that?
That was not the case. He was self-employed. This is another one where, got into kind of got stuck in the middle between the client and their CPA, where they're saying they earned one amount and then the CPA is coming back that no, that's not true. This is what it is, right? And it's tough sometimes with self-employed borrowers because you can write off some things where on paper you're not making as much money as you're actually, might have, right?
Right.
In terms of qualifying for a mortgage. So it was not the case. He was not earning what he thought he was earning. And
Yeah.
we went back with his CPA numerous times, and the CPA was each time was like, no, this is what it is.
Yeah.
To the point where, when we went back to the agent, like, unfortunately they don't qualify for what, and they were trying to, really fine tune the loan too. It wasn't like a simple like cookie cutter deal. Like they were like trying to go above and beyond and, still have a low down payment with down payment assistance, like, just pretty much like you said, like earlier, like trying to find the golden goose, right?
Yeah.
And we were, far from it. So,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah, that was
remember that.
another one.
I remember that well, and he blamed you.
Yeah,
He
and
was
that was
like,
the other thing too. You told me
Joe's
about.
green. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm like, there's
I was like,
times now where I'm so much in the field and so much on marketing, and I know these things as well. I could, I know guidelines well. I know how to research guidelines. However, Joe, sometimes I'm asking you questions. Bro, can you look into that for me? And it's just funny what a mind you've become in 5 years of doing this. I mean, your intellect in our industry is incredible, and it was just funny to see that, right? So it's unfortunate, but it's one of the things where around the same time, we had something where, and this is a fun one, and the reason why we're bringing these up and we're kind of going through these is
war
really
stories.
they're war stories, and they're interesting stories. And if you're in the industry, you're like, oh man, you guys dealt with that too. There's things about camaraderie, right, where we understand this. But the reason why is just to build an awareness for things that we see in this industry. And the reason why is, again, we want to give reasons, 9 reasons to turn something down for that one to approve it, and to be reasonable to find the path of less resistance for any one of our clients, but also unpack stories that we've seen, just so you know, like we've seen in these stories, right? We've seen these things, and they can happen. And it's funny because it reminds me of another transaction where a client got a gift letter from an individual. I believe it was his grandmother,
Yeah,
and it was to purchase a property. And Joe, can you tell me that story, maybe?
I would love to. But so this was back. This was probably I'd been with APM for about 2 years at this point. So everything was still new to me, right?
Yeah,
And I'm just chasing down the conditions. I see that there was a large deposit to their bank account.
yeah,
Call them, hey, where'd this like $50,000 come from? Oh, it was from my grandmother. All right, perfect. That's pretty normal. Can we just get like a gift letter, which is totally standard piece of documentation you got to get whenever someone's getting funds from a family member, friend, whatever it might be, right? Yeah, 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 that's fine. All right, so I assume, everything's normal. Later on that day, I get a call. Hey, my grandmother can't sign for the gift letter. I'm like, oh, well, we have to have it signed, unfortunately. Like, is it just they're not willing to sign it? Well, no, they're actually dead. And at that point, I honestly didn't know what to do. My brain, is still customer service oriented. I'm like, okay, yeah, what can we do to accommodate this person to try, like not realizing like,
I shouldn't
you know,
laugh,
kind
but
of like
yeah.
the potential, issues with this, right? And yeah, I'll just never forget with the deadpan delivery, just like, oh yeah, she's dead. I'm just like, oh, um, so this isn't a gift then, huh? Well,
Yeah.
no, she wanted me to have it. And I'm like, okay, so like, did she give it to you before she passed, or no? She left me her password for her bank account, and so I sent it to myself. But like, I was like, oh, so you're on the bank account? No, no, no. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is her bank account. You're not a joint holder or anything like that. Is there any like thing in like, the will or living trust or anything that says you taking ownership of this bank account? No, no, no. She just, when she was in the hospital, she gave me the password for the bank account, and I'm like, because I would pay her bills and help out with stuff. And instantly in my head, I'm like, this does not sound good at all. So yeah, that
That's
was
one
one
of
of
those
that.
stories, man. And so that's the one thing too, because of something called the SAFE Act or FinCEN. by law, we have to paper trail where funds are coming from. We have to authorize them, not authorize them, pardon. We have to show where they come
Verify.
from and
Yeah.
verify it. And the reason why is we want to make sure they're coming from a plausible source. And as a plausible source, if it's a gift, yes, it can be a family member, but the family member has to
Has to
sign
be
a
alive.
gift letter, right? Yeah, and has to have, you know, a
The
pulse
autonomy to
and
do that.
awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
autonomy,
pulse.
exactly. Right.
It
Um,
says that in the guidelines, must have a pulse. Don't, it must be a family member or have a pulse.
Yeah, that one was so nutty. And then, another one that, really came to mind was in around the same time as the first couple of transactions we talked about was we had an attorney. He was doing a refinance on a multi-unit property in California. I'm not going to say where or allude to even the individual, but because they're still a really good friend, but it was just funny because they were an attorney and they didn't know that California is a community property state and he's still going through a separation with his wife, and his wife wouldn't sign off on it for him, um, for whatever reason. And it was interesting to see because, you know, it was an attorney that didn't know that in California you have to have your spouse sign off, right? You remember that one? That was interesting. And
Mind, mind you, sorry to interrupt. The spouse was on the title for the property. So
yeah,
that should
right.
also like kind of say like you can't just like pull a fast one on them like, hey, by the way,
Yeah,
that property we have together,
yeah.
I took you off it. And
And we're still going through a divorce and separation. Nothing's final yet, but by the way, that equity, it's yeah, you signed off saying it was a sold and separate property.
figured
Um,
I
and-
I figured I'd get a head start, like but the real crusher about that one too was everything. It was a little bit of a it was a tough deal. There was a
yeah,
lot of things that, we had to work around on that one, and we were pretty much at docs pretty much. The notary was contacting the client, and that's where this came up because we got a call from that client pretty much being like, "What do you mean my spouse has to be at the signing?" They're not going to do it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh man. And
Oh, yeah.
the
And then
bummer about that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, we had another one like that last year, actually reminds me. It was a
Oh yeah.
transaction where, we're going through the separation, client wanted to buy a property, and we were at docs at funding, and we said docs to funding three times because the investor said that they're going to make the exception. Come to find out, we contact their president, the president of this company that we're um, sending the file to on the secondary market. I mean, we originated, we send it to them. We sent to this individual. She's like, I'll sign off on it. Absolutely. This totally makes sense. We're going to do it. It's a make sense transaction. You can see, everything's pretty much done. And at that point, um, we go to fund it. We have to start new escrow numbers. So we have to kind of re-underwrite real quick, get docs back out. By the time that happened, it was like a Friday to a Monday morning. The president left the company that she's a president that
Yep.
signed off on it. And everybody's saying, I'm sorry, this person's no longer here. And it's almost like, are you doing a good riddance thing because you know that title won't insure this property because of the California Community Property State Law? Whereas we're getting this thing done. You guys said you're fine with it with the exception. You emailed title saying if you're okay with it, signing off on it with the layered risk of that
Yep.
community property state, right? And then of course come to find out again, the transaction fell apart.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a tough one too because we got that one pretty much docs out twice, you know.
Three times.
Was it three? Yeah, three
It's
times. I'm
three
sorry.
times. Yeah.
Yeah. That one was tough.
Yeah. But yeah. And anyhow, yeah, I mean, those things are just important to know, right? And that's why we're here. We're here to educate you guys. If you're, and that's why every once in a while we like to do podcasts like this, where it's just Joe and myself rather than interview with, another industry or, another professional in our industry even. Because these things do happen. And another one that comes to mind, same February, earlier this year, we had a big property. It was a 3 unit property in Oakland, California. And right before closing, you and I were in Disneyland. It was our yearly family Disneyland trip where you had your wife and kids and me with mine. And do you remember? A car hit the building, dude.
So
We're going into Disney, California. I
you
get a
gotta
call. I'm like, wait,
you
what?
you gotta tell it the right way, man. So we've had a lot of these issues were around the same time, like you said, in like February. So we're just losing deals, left and right for these reasons. We're like, it's like this has never happened before. We had like the guy with, providing fraudulent pay stubs and W-2s, and then the client not knowing that they had to have their spouse sign off on documentation, and this is all going off at once. It's like, what else can happen? And then we're in Disneyland, and I just open up the laptop and see in the subject line, a car hit the property. And I just remember, like, I kind of put my my laptop down for a minute, and I was like, I can't even right now. Like what? What?
Yeah. Were we at that Tiki Joe's or whatever it was at Disneyland Hotel?
Yeah, we were at the Tiki getting three dots and a dash.
Three dots in a dash. Yeah.
My new favorite vacation beverage.
Yeah, that was incredible.
But yeah, that was I think that was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was just like one of those things where it's like, what else can go wrong? You know, like we've had all these deals just this year that have undergone these crazy circumstances, and it's just literally like they couldn't have chosen like a more comedic punchline or like a subject line, just like a car hit the house.
Yeah, that was a month, man. And we came off one of our greatest years, and it was like January, February. And the market that we're seeing, to kind of segue into that a little bit, um, I think caused a lot of stress for a lot of people. The market that we're in fact, I had a really good podcast that this is 21st. I'm gonna publish it today on Spotify and YouTube. But I was talking to, Kenny Trong, who's literally, in my opinion, probably one of the biggest agents in California. Someone I've known for years, has been a friend and someone I admire, but he was talking about how the market's been so different this year, but it's just, you got to get out there, right? You got to pound payment. And the word for agents was like, keep the client's interest first, make sure you're there for the client, make sure you continue to bless the client. And same thing when I was in Venice the other day with TRG and Britta Kleinglarder made a great comment. And she's like, you always put the client's interest ahead of your own. And she closes 80 to 100 sides a year. And it's just like that sort of mentality. And we saw this, but there's two transactions I want to kind of talk about too, because these things are important to know, and it's important to know the pace of the market we're in. It's not 2020, 2021, 2022, even for that matter, where things kind of picked up and really were pretty consistently busy. But the market, you're saying 23 to 24, 24 to 25. Oh, if we could just get to 26 now. This year is harder than the years before because of the change of administration, tariff concerns, were what's going on with, Fed Powell interest rates. People are, you know, and there are dips. Don't get me wrong. We're between 6.5 to 7% on the 30-year fix by and large for most of this year. And now we're stepping into fourth quarter in just another 2 weeks. So our thought here is to look at it and say, okay, well, they're the strike rate periods. So we locked 17 in March. We did 12 last month, where rates dropped back to like the low 6% range. We're able to capitalize on it for our clients so they could get those savings. But buyers are stepping out of the market. We do know eventually rates are going to come down. But as they come down, we're going to see a lot more people, kind of probably flooding the market. And there's statistics out there. How many people are just waiting for rates to hit 6.5 on a consistent basis? And we saw it. I mean, last week or 2 weeks ago, we got 14 applications in one day. We usually pull 40 to 50 a month. So it was just the amount of people of interest of saying, oh gosh, rates are back down. Let's apply. Let's get it back out there.
Yep.
Now, days on market's increasing, meaning if you're a listing agent, you're holding a property on market longer because there's less buyers in the market. And going back to what I was talking to Kenny about, usually there's 1 month in the year during the summer where it slumps. I think that's what we went through from July to August, where you start to see the slowdown. Kids go back to school sooner. When I was a kid, it was always Labor Day or after Labor Day weekend. Labor Day was like the bummer holiday of the year. Like, oh, I could go back to school.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you remember that, right? So that being said, I think that we're dealing with the slum, but the unfortunate part is there are a couple of agents out there that are doing kind of the push thing. And it's just they push their clients to get into escrow. And 9 out of 10 times that deal fall apart. We saw it 3 times in the same week. Do you remember that? They're
This
all
year?
in LA too. They're all in LA.
Oh yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Where,
No, I
where
know
they're like,
exactly what you're talking
I
about.
need to get this person in escrow now. And like, they're like, well, I sold them on a condo rather than this TIC. But the person who got in there really kind of got pushed into it, or she felt that way anyway. And the idea here is, they can gently lead and instruct, don't make it too fast. The last one we did, I'm not going to name her. She's a great client, and I think of her as a friend. She got into it, and she's like, "Yeah, I made an offer, and I got my offer. I pre-approved on a Friday. I made the offer, sent the pre-approval on Friday afternoon, was accepted Saturday morning, started escrow Monday. It's too fast,
Yeah.
and it's like you can't think." And so for the agents out there, and I'm not trying to scold anybody because, we work with agents and we love you guys, but the market will turn around. And what I'd share with anybody is, bless your clients, be there for your clients, gently lead and instruct and, consider their needs above your own. and Britta does that. And I know Kenny, and he really, his agents do that, right? Over at Fast Agent, and they're incredible. And the agents we usually work with all have that mindset. It's going to happen in their timing, right? And we're going to put it together. It's going to be great. It's going to work, and it's not going to be the push. And that's the biggest concern I have, man. It's like, dude, I mean, yeah, it's slower right now, but it's summer, you know? Shoot some marketing, do podcasts, do reels. Go spend, if you have kids, spend time with your kids. If you have a dog, walk your dog. If
Go
you
on
surf,
vacation, you
go
know?
surf, go on
Yeah.
vacation. Yeah, the best way to get busy is go on vacation.
Yeah. No, no lies there.
Yeah, 100%. That's like the big joke in real estate. So I don't know, man. I mean, any thoughts on that? Because we had a couple of those that came up, and then it seemed like a buyer was really pushing for somebody I think she was probably related to, and she handled the entire transaction for her
Yeah, I know which one you're talking
client.
about.
Yeah,
That was strange. And don't get me wrong, like that one we closed and everything, but I that was the first transaction I've ever done or I've assisted you with that I never spoke with the client.
yeah,
I saw emails from them and everything, but I never got on a call with them. I
yeah.
texted them, and that was the most of my communication I had with them. Everything was done through the agent. Um,
It's weird. It,
yeah, it was very strange. I mean, that's a good agent. I mean, they really they earned their commission on that one,
Yeah,
man.
she was amazing. I mean, the agent was great for sure. Loved working with her, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like you want to have that because and there's a word called fiduciary, which is a lawful duty to represent, right? In our industry, we want to properly represent our clients, so we want to make sure all the questions and concerns are answered. And she kind of spearheaded it and was point of contact, but it was, and we kept calling, and I spoke to her maybe
Hmm.
twice. But it was just one of those things where it's most communications are email, which we don't mind, but it's nice to be able to have that relationship with the client because at the end of the day, we want to help you, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. But yeah, man, I mean, good stories. I'm definitely, like I said, we were talking about this stuff, laughing about this stuff. I'm like, we got to record this, dude, and share it because the things that we see in this industry, there's plenty. Know that there's a reason why we're asking for things because we don't want your file to be audited. If it ever is, and they're randomly select. It's not like they look at that individual file or they just randomly will look at a file or a book of 100 and say, okay, let's look at this one just to make sure everything's done properly. And making sure we do that ensures, really just perfection for the client and the investor, the lender, the agents, escrow, and title. Everybody involved with the transaction, we want to make sure it's done the right way every single time. So it can be strenuous at times, but at the end of the day, keep in mind our mindset is very simple. We're considering your needs, your desires, your dreams of home ownership more important than our own, and that's really what it comes down to.
It's almost like just to kind of use a quick like anytime you see something like on a hot beverage, like, caution this beverage may be hot, or like on a microwave, there's a warning like do not put, metal in the microwave. There's a reason those things are on there.
Yeah,
Because at one point in time, someone has made the mistake of what you would deem common sense, right? And so it's almost kind of like that. The reason that we have to do a lot of these is because we've had incidents before where people have, and whether it be intentional or not, sometimes it can just be a misunderstanding. We've had people before who have tried to do you know, loans to fund their down payment or, things like that. And then so there's a reason why we ask for all these things up front. It's just it's more or less to protect you, you know what I mean, as the
100%.
client. So
100%. It's so true, man. And it's like protecting our clients is everything. I mean, because at the end of the day, we care about our clients more than anything. I mean, we
yeah.
love working with our clients. We work with amazing people. We want to continue to enrich it and just really bless those relationships. Because at the end of the day, those are relationships that matter so much to us, the people. And it's why we do what we do, and we're happy to do it for sure. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to wrap this up. Good luck to your Carolina Panthers this season, by the way. I see that t-shirt. Um, I'll send you
Thanks.
Steve. It's all good, man. I'm gonna send you Steve Young jersey next week.
Cool.
But
Awesome. My mom's a Niners fan. I can pass it on to her.
oh, bro. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you as always, Joe. Thank you for recording.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.